Joseph Hogue here with another video on the Let's Talk Money YouTube channel. I want to welcome all our subscribers and thank you for taking a part of your day to be here. If you're not part of that community yet, just click that little red subscribe button. It's free and you'll never miss a video. Today's video is part of our expert interview series and it's going to be a great one. I'm excited to get our guest on because the topic isn't something we cover very much on the channel, but I think it's a huge opportunity. Now, I run a scholarship every year on one of the blogs and just ask applicants for an essay about what their parents taught them about money or what they've learned. And some of the essays I get are really amazing, but not all of them are positive. You know, the fact is that personal finance just isn't taught in school. And a lot of times our parents' bad habits are the ones that are passed down. So that's why I think it's such a great opportunity to teach the younger generation about personal finance, or to just be proactive and learn about money yourself as early as possible. So today's guest is one of the best people for helping us do that. You know, Eva Baker founded teensgotsense.com when she was just 16 back in 2013. And it was really to chronicle her own experience with money, to help other teens manage their money and to reach their financial goals. Now, the blog has grown way beyond her dreams. It was awarded the best blog for teens, college students, and young adults in 2014. And then again, the best generational personal finance blog in 2016 by the Plutus Awards. Eva has since hired a full team of writers to help her with the blog, and reading through the About page is so cool because this really is a website for teens by teens with some excellent information on managing money. So Eva, thank you for being with us today and offering to share that insight into how teens can budget their money and live their dream life.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So now I love this topic because, like I said, it just isn't something taught in school, but it's so important to our lives, I think. So our son is 5 right now, so I don't have a lot of experience with teens and personal finance. But I know teens grow into adults. And if today's teens are anything like my generation, the future doesn't look too rosy for their finances. So why do you think that is? What are the biggest challenges teens face with their money?
I think that it would have to be parents. And let me explain that before I move forward. I think that, a lot of parents don't take the opportunities with their children to educate them. I think a lot of times because they don't feel qualified to, but they don't even give them the opportunity to work with money. They don't give them an allowance. They don't help them learn how to earn money. They don't, let them get a job or encourage them to start kind of business or anything like that. And I think that puts kids, especially younger kids, in the position of having to ask for money or beg for money from their parents to get the things they want, when really you could be using that as such an awesome learning tool to help, give your kids an allowance and help them learn how to save up for the things that they want. And I think that's really affecting teens in a negative way, especially when they do grow up and go out to college. And one of the reasons that I founded Teens Got Sense, because a lot of kids get dropped off into the real world and don't have any experience with money whatsoever. And that's, I think, very detrimental to them.
And I think that's a great point that, if you don't let your teens or your children build those experiences with money, where are they going to get that experience? Or really the only idea of money they have is from what they see from their parents. And like I said, a lot of times those aren't great habits. You might be managing your personal finance, but really the only thing they see are when something goes wrong. And so that's not a great way to start your journey in personal finance. Are there unique challenges teens today face that maybe other generations didn't with their money?
I don't know if I can answer that super well. I think maybe the biggest difference is that it's really difficult to get a part-time job as a teen now. I think a lot, just like even in fast food or anything like that, I think adults are taking a lot of those part-time jobs that teens maybe would once more typically have. And I think it's getting more and more difficult. I mean, I even know me back in, I think it was 2014, I was looking for a part-time job over the summer and had such a difficult time. And I think that that's a huge challenge that kids are facing because they don't have a way to earn money. And if they don't have any money, they can't learn how to manage it very well. I also think a part of that is just because kids have a lot less freedom today than they used to back in other generations where, people in like my grandparents and parents' age were able to go out and, have a newspaper route or, walk up to the store and work for, a couple of hours or whatever. I don't think kids have that kind of freedom, is where like, if you're going to have a job anywhere, you have to be able to drive there. You have to have a car, like all of those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of restrictions that is making that very difficult for kids.
Sure, sure. And that's interesting that you brought up the job opportunities available, because we have seen the labor force participation rate. And, that's just how many people are available for work or within that age, and how many actually have a job or are looking for work. And we've seen that drop way down for teens and even people up into, the age of 24 or so. So it is kind of a cultural shift, I think, that people maybe aren't expecting teens to work younger. And like you said, a lot of people, I think, taking those traditional teen-centered teen jobs. So that's an interesting kind of shift that could be some real challenges for teens and how they build those experiences with money. So I want to look at this from two different perspectives. How can teens manage their money better? And then we'll talk about, what can parents do to help their teens manage money better as well. But first, what are some of those easy personal finance tips that teens can use to manage their own money?
So I think the most practical thing for any teen, or really anyone who's learning to budget for the first time, and what I've used my entire life, is called the envelope system. And I'm sure most people would probably be familiar with that, but I think it's one of the best ways, most practical ways for teens to learn how to manage their money. Basic system is you have 3 envelopes. You have one for saving, spending, and giving. And I think it's really important as a teen to just use cash, to start off using cash. And anytime you get any money in, you put it through those envelopes. And obviously, like my parents started me on that system when I was 5, and I just had those 3 envelopes: saving, spending, and giving. Obviously, as I got older, moved into my teen years and had more responsibilities, had more things I wanted to do, those envelopes grew. But I always followed the rule that any cash I got or any money I had coming in, which obviously wasn't a lot, had to go through those envelopes. It didn't go straight to my wallet. It had to go through a category, and it had a purpose. And so I think that's just the most important thing that you can do, just to learn how to be purposeful with your money.
Okay, so that envelope system just gives you an easy way, an automatic way to separate your money out and not get maybe caught up short with money that you need for expenses, as well as making sure you have an envelope that money goes in there for savings. Now, how long do you keep the money in there? So I know, okay, if you've got an envelope for savings, wouldn't it be easier just to put that in the bank account immediately, or how long do you keep the money in there before you move it into a different account?
Right. Yeah, that's totally valid. So the envelopes that I had for saving, I would let it build up to a certain amount, or just kind of like whenever we were going to the bank, and I would take that. And I did have a bank account and a savings account that I put that money into. So that's really kind of up to that person of how long they want to keep that cash before moving it into a bank account. But one thing I love so much about this system is that it not only allows you to be purposeful and to save for things for the future, but it also allows you to do the fun things that you want right now. I mean, I had an envelope to save up for a car and saving up for college, but I also had, clothes and spending so I could go out and do fun things with my friends. And it's the best of both worlds. Like, you get to do everything you want to do, and that system helps you just be purposeful about it.
Okay. Yeah. I love the idea of, I think so many people fail at their budget because they think they have to track every penny where it goes. And then, obviously they spend here and there. They don't know what happened, and they ultimately just get disappointed and fail at their budget. But with the system, then you have the money in there, and that's how much you can spend. So you spend out of the envelopes basically until the envelope's empty, and then that's your budget. So
exactly.
A great system there. Now, how about parents? How can parents help their teenagers manage money? How can parents especially motivate their teens to start taking control of their own finances and encourage their teens to be more proactive with money?
I think it can be done through super easy and practical ways. I know that a lot of parents struggle with their own budget, but I think one of the key things that's so important is just being open and honest about the mistakes that you make. That's one of the ways that I learned so much about personal finance, is my parents being willing to say like, hey, this is what's going on. You know, this is what's happening. I did have a different experience than most people did growing up. My parents were very hands-on with my brother and I, but it's never like we sat down and had this big discussion of like, oh, you have to be purposeful and practical and good with your money, and this is how you budget. It was just a part of our lives. Like I said, I started doing the envelope system when I was 5, and that kind of taught me the fundamentals. And then as I got older, they just continued to include me in the family budget, include me in the household personal finances. And I think the biggest thing that they did was when I think I was 13, they increased my allowance substantially for me at the time. And that's when I opened my first bank account and got a debit card. And so I got an allowance every month, or maybe it was every 2 weeks when my dad got paid, and it went into my bank account and I had my debit card. But with the increase of my allowance also came the responsibility of purchasing all of my own clothes. And that was invaluable to me at 13. That first year, my mom obviously I couldn't drive, so she went with me, and she would help me go through my closet beforehand. We would make a list of the things I would need. She would help me learn how to shop the sales racks and find the best deals and get the stuff that I needed. And then if I had money left over, I could get something fun that I wanted, or some fun accessories or something like that. And then after that year, I was pretty much just on my own and got to spend that money how I chose. And, I made some mistakes, because maybe I had to go see a movie with my friends and then couldn't buy clothes that I needed. And that was just too bad. And that was on me. But that's the perfect time to make mistakes like that. Like, I was 14. I had pretty much no financial responsibilities, no obligations. And, looking back on it, it was kind of more of a detrimental thing because I wanted to buy clothes that I couldn't. But, in the overall scheme of life, it was like $50. It doesn't matter. And so I really think that doing just small things like that, like just opening that door for your kids to be involved in and having it be kind of a regular topic of conversation, is just a really easy thing to do. And it doesn't have to be this like big, like educational, we're going to sit down and like teach you about personal finance. Like, just live life and include your kids in that.
Sure. Yeah. And that idea of shifting responsibility for money to your kids over time, I've heard that from a lot of people, gradually over the years, increasing their allowance or increasing the money they get, but also increasing the responsibilities they have with that money. Not necessarily just, paying for their own clothes, but from, paying for their own clothes to paying parts of the rent, even paying, I know a lot of my friends had started out paying some of their kids' educational costs, college tuition, that kind of thing, and then slowly made them be more responsible for that money as well. So it's just, gradually shifting more responsibility on them about money. And of course, just being open with your money and your own personal finances, just involving them in, in the ideas of paying those bills every month and that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Some great ideas, great information. I want to thank our guest, Eva Baker, for her insight into how to budget your money as a teenager and really start creating that financial future, and for parents, how you can motivate your teens to start doing that. Make sure you check out her blog, teensgotsense.com, and that's sense with CENTS. I'll leave a link to that in the video description below. And if you want to keep getting great ideas and interviews for beating debt, making more money, and just making your money work for you, don't forget to click on that subscribe button and join the community. If you've got a question for Eva or for myself, ask it in the comments below and we'll make sure you get an answer.